Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly.
Chair, I'm the presiding officer today. Good morning, welcome everyone. Our first order of business is a new member introduction. Unfortunately, our new member was unable to be here today, so we will proceed to meeting minutes. The minutes of December 13th were in your packet. I would seek approval of those minutes.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? With that, we'll move on to the preliminary January 31 financials. Good morning.
Good morning. Statements as of January 31, 2024
2024 are in your packet. Something semi-exciting happened. We paid our last payment on the DeVos Place 2013 bonds, so that's nice, one down. At this time, we are about 62% of the way through the non-tax fund budget and 57% of the way through the local tax fund budget. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, just looking for approval for Statement D, all of your expenditures from December and January.
Any questions?
Maybe one other thing just to mention is we did also come in with the winter tax increment capture. We did add a little bit
Yes, yes, thanks.
to our overall revenue.
And taxes are a little ahead of projection, which is great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'll call for a motion to approve Statement D.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further questions or discussion? If not, those in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next, we are moving on to the audit.
Hi, I would like to introduce Marie Stiegel, who is from Plant Moran, who did the audit this year, and let her tell you about it.
Good morning,
Good morning.
everyone. My name is Marie Stiegel. As Tricia mentioned, I'm a principal of Plant Moran, and I'm responsible for overseeing the audit for the DDA. What you have in your packets this morning are really two documents. One is the audited financial statements for June 30th, 2023, and one is a letter addressed to the board members, which really recaps the audit results. And since you're already talking about the January financials, rather than go through those June 30th financials in detail, which you've already seen, I want to really recap what's in that letter, which details out the results of the audit and how the audit process went. First, as the external auditor, our responsibility is to give an opinion on the financial statements as to whether they're fairly presented in all material respects. We were able to provide an unmodified opinion. I know that's a little bit of unusual wording, but what that is that's the best audit opinion that you can receive from the external auditor. We also need to consider internal controls that are present at the organization and communicate any significant matters that come to our attention related to the design or the operation of those internal controls. I'm happy to announce that we did not identify any matters that would rise to the level that we'd have to communicate to you, such as significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. Those are the wordings used in the audit standards. So nothing that came to our attention that was a cause for concern that would require to be communicated. Management is ultimately responsible for selecting and applying accounting principles. There were some new accounting principles this year that had to be considered. At the end of the day, none of them ended up having an impact on the financial statements, but the standards related to looking at whether there was any subscription-based IT arrangements that are other than short-term or any other type arrangements that needed to be accounted for in accordance with the new standards. Again, there was nothing of significance that impacted the financial statements this year. We also didn't identify any items that were recorded based on a significant estimate or in a period other than the correct period that we were reporting on. We had no difficulties performing the audit or disagreements with management. There were no misstatements identified. So that means when we go through the audit process and looking at the recorded amounts, we didn't identify any adjustments to those amounts that needed to be incorporated into the financial statements. There were no other significant findings or issues that came to our attention that we needed to report. So when I really look at all that, that's all kind of boilerplate that we have to report to you as auditors. But when I think about what the takeaway is, the financial statements that you're receiving on a regular basis, when we've looked at all, whether we have, no adjustments to the financial statements that we're auditing, it means that you can rely upon those numbers that you're receiving, from management on a regular basis. And I think that's just a testament to the great work that the team is doing in keeping the books and records. And, it was a clean audit, went very well. We appreciate all the cooperation and getting it done. It's definitely a heavy lift. It's not easy. So in addition to regular duties that they have going on, they make sure we can get the audit done timely and efficiently. And we really appreciate the opportunity to continue to serve. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to address those.
Any questions? All right. Do we need a motion to accept?
I think that would be.
I think we need a motion to accept the audit report as presented.
Support.
Who made the motion?
Louise.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Sorry. All right, it's been moved and supported to accept the audit report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Also, I think Marie said, but just wanted to acknowledge and say thanks to Tricia, as well as our admin team here, Lauren, Katie, and Mandy, who do all the heavy lifting on this piece of work. So thanks to them as well.
Always good to get a clean audit report.
No doubt.
All right, moving along. The next item on our agenda is the DDA Development and TIF Plan Amendment, and I'm going to turn this over to Tim for explanation.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So as was outlined in your packet, the request for you this morning is to approve the resolution recommending amendments to the DDA Development and TIF Plan. This would advance it to the City Commission for a public hearing and hopefully approval later on. I'll talk about that schedule in a moment. The purpose for this is really to continue to align our documents, these two plan documents, which are statutorily required, with the activities of the DDA and the priorities that we're carrying forward. As many of you know, this happens periodically. This is the 17th time we're advancing a DDA amendment, so certainly not out of the ordinary. But want to make sure that we're all on the same page about what's being recommended. So a few points to bring forward for you. Currently, what our map looks like is on the left here. What we're proposing is really to fill in these two areas down on the southwest, as well as near the post office up here at Monroe in Michigan. Those were left out previously. Not many of us were around when those decisions were made, but part of what happened is that there's been a change in interpretation of the way that the DDAs can interact with the brownfield. And so I think previously when we were looking at these development areas, there was an acknowledgement that the brownfield might also need to play a role. And based on an interpretation that the DDA can either opt out or share revenues with the brownfield authority, we see now the opportunity to bring the DDA tool to these areas to participate in the redevelopment, acknowledging that as those decisions are made on projects, that we'll make decisions as to whether or not DDA is better off to be in the first position or the brownfield. The other main reason, just to get into it a little bit more, is that, and I'll zoom in on the area so you can see what geographically where we're focused in on. Again, this is the southwest, Wealthy Street to orient you to the south. This would be the 201 market area, which we'll talk about more shortly. This would be the new District Q as proposed. And then the post office site, along with the Row Hotel, this would be the new District R. Reason for this that I wanted to get to, really around two things. One is our continued work on the Grand River Greenway. As we've approved around this table multiple times over the past several months, there's a lot of work happening in that area, and we want to make sure that the DDA is in a position to participate. And so specifically for Fulton Market, then the Oxford Trail connection, which we've talked about over the past few months, we're drawing in this area right here that would allow the DDA to help with the trail build out. We are already down on this side of Market Avenue and just saw the wisdom of adding that to the north of the Grand River there. So that's one. And then the second piece is really around the amphitheater, and we'll talk more about that shortly. But wanting to make sure that the DDA is in a position to participate with the amphitheater project, as well as the surrounding and adjacent development that would move forward. So what this would do is, again, this would tax capture districts. These are, save for 3 parcels on the southwest side, these are already within the boundary. We're just creating new tax capture districts so that we can collect revenue to participate in projects moving forward. 2, maybe 3 other important things to point out. There's no recommended change to our gain share arrangement, which was a sort of a key piece of the 2016 amendment. This essentially creates the sharing of revenue from the DDA with the capturing units. So the DDA collects and sends back to those units. To date, so since 2016, we've sent back $6.6 million, and over the term of this proposed plan, we would project that we'd send back close to $100 million in tax increment revenue. That is a result of the step up. So we're at 15% now. In 2032, we would step up to 25%. So important to point that out. We are also not proposing any change to the special millage language that was included in 2016. And so essentially what all of those words say is that the DDA will not capture special millages that are approved by the voters. And then last piece is just on the schedule. So this is the first step in this process. We are targeting setting a public hearing at commission in March, holding a public hearing in April, and then having the ordinance adopted later in April. There's a host of notices that need to go out within 20 days. We'll notify all the taxing units, property owners, et cetera, to make sure that they're in the loop. But that is what I wanted to share with you, and I would be happy to take any questions or hear any discussion.
Any questions? Greg?
Question just for understanding purposes. Following the resolution, there's a plan document or a draft multi-page document that enumerates a variety of projects and has budgets associated with them. Are those, should we view those as obligations or aspirations?
Aspirations. Yeah.
So, to clarify.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying.
Other questions? There is a proposed resolution in your packet to approve the resolution recommending the expansion of the Grand Rapids Development Area Number 1 and amending the tax increment financing and development plan for Grand Rapids Development Area Number 1. I would entertain a motion to approve that.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? I have one question. What are we going to do when we run out of alphabet letters?
Roman numerals.
Double A, double B.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. the
Can
motion-
I ask just a follow-up
Sure,
question for
yes.
timing? So when will that be back before the city commission?
We're right now, so we should be there on March 5th, just to set the public hearing.
Eh, And you've talked to the city manager about that, making sure it's on the agenda? Okay.
Moving right ahead. The next item on our agenda is to approve an MOU and funding support for the Acrisure Amphitheater. Tim, once again.
Yes, so now that we have, or hope to have soon, a District Q, wanna get to work. So this request, as Madam Chair outlined, is to approve the resolution and the MOU with the city that would pledge $20,500,000 plus interest in tax increment revenue to cover payments, debt service payments for the Acrisure Amphitheater over 20 years. As proposed, this would, the city would be issuing debt that the DDA would pledge tax increment revenue to support the amphitheater investment. We currently estimate that the annual debt service payments would be around $1.5 million. We won't know for sure what that is until the bonds are issued and we know what the interest rate is. So this is essentially pledging, approving the resolution that we will do that, and we'll know the specifics of the amount at the time they're issued. We currently expect that would be happening this spring, but the date is still to be determined. So that's kind of the motion and ask before you. Wanted to give a quick background. I think we've talked about this a lot, and you're probably all fairly familiar with it, but I think it's important to remember why we're doing this, and specifically to talk about 201 Market. So again, this is our area. The amphitheater is currently proposed to go in this section. This is Market Avenue coming down to Wealthy. I think, as a lot of you know, there have been a lot of proposals and drawings on this site over the years, going all the way back to the Mystery Project, which I didn't know had a trademark name associated with it, but this is the Mystery Project. This is Wealthy Street. This is a Space Needle. That didn't move forward. Beyond that, the grand what is the name? I don't even remember the name of the plan. Other drawings through Green Grand Rapids, excuse me. And then in 2017, there was an RFP issued by the city that looked a little closer, I think, to where we hope things will go. But nonetheless, none of these things were able to move forward. GR Forward also prioritized this site as an opportunity site. Looked at priorities including creating a destination and large-scale programmable open space. Obviously, the trail connection was a big component of that. And then housing and mixed-use development was also a focal point. I think we've understood and learned over the years that while we had these aspirations, this is a very challenging site to redevelop. First and foremost, it's big. It's 20 acres when you think about the full build-out and vision. Previously, there was a sewer, an active stormwater sewer line running underneath it, which thanks to the city, as well as some private partners in the CAA, has now been decommissioned, so the development can actually occur here. And then beyond that, just the economics of pulling something like that off in our market were all considerations. And so I think as those realities were embedded, I think we understood that we needed a public-private partnership, large-scale community investment coupled with private investment and philanthropy to actually move this project forward. The amphitheater emerged as sort of the lead anchor for the site around 2020, 2021. There's been a host of community engagement around this project. I think we're all aware of that. And not to belabor some of the data points, but just as a reminder, the estimates are that 300,000 visitors would come to the amphitheater annually. Over 50 dates at least would be programmed. Over 450 jobs, and an economic impact around 500 million over the life of just the amphitheater development. So those are all sort of the reasons we think it's important. I think beyond that, and kind of going back to the GR Forward points, this will allow us to build the continuous path along the river's edge. That'll happen simultaneously with the amphitheater construction. That is not part of our financial ask, I should point out. That would likely come through support of the Grand River Greenway funds that DGRI is accepting. But nonetheless, the city's move off the site and the beginning of construction on the amphitheater will allow that to happen. And then importantly, on the housing front, as we've talked about, this will open up the opportunity for housing to occur here. The conceptual plans that have been drawn allow for and accommodate between 1,100 and 1,300 housing units. There may be more, there may be less, but those plans can now move forward. I think the other key piece is that the land transaction that the CAA is stepping up to make will put $10 million into the city's affordable housing fund that will allow for investments in housing, not only in downtown, but throughout the city. So all of those things are happening because of this amphitheater investment. I think it's a reason why the DDA and why we're recommending that the DDA participate as well. So that brings us back to what we're being asked to do. Again, support tax income and revenues and pledge those to debt service payments. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Tim? The resolution and memorandum of understanding are in your
Member
packet.
McNeil.
Sorry.
Just a question, it might be for the city, since we're backstopping the city's intended obligation. In the capital stack, there's an anticipation for some additional tax revenue that's not yet legal to capture. If that doesn't happen, does this MOU, executing this MOU, obligate us to move forward, or is it all contingent together?
So
Is that, I think you understand what I'm saying.
I think I understand. Yeah, I think the way
Right.
it was written is that the approval of the MOU is contingent upon the approval of the DDA, TIF, and development plan.
Right.
So if in a scenario where what you all just approved and recommended is not passed, then the MOU would not be approved either.
But I think your question is related to additional revenue streams that we don't currently have.
Yes.
And that is separate. So,
Obviously.
yeah.
so for the project to move forward, they still need these funds and they need the support of the DDA.
But your commitment is just with regard to this amount?
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
is not contingent upon future funding expressly?
Okay. Do we know if the city would move forward on the project without those additional funds?
We're moving forward with the project. I can tell you that. We're moving off the site. We'll be off the site hopefully by the end of April, and we're hoping to break ground on May. So we're full steam ahead. We're just figuring out these final few pieces as a part of the amphitheater. Now I have my CAA hat on and not my mayor hat on, although they stay on all the time. So yeah, CAA intends to continue to move forward.
Does that answer your question completely?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions on this? All right, we have a recommendation that we approve the resolution and the memorandum of understanding committing the DDA's support of annual debt service payments to the Acrisure Amphitheater.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? The motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 8, the 407 Pearl Street authorization. Once again, Tim.
Yes, thank you. So this resolution is to accept a donation of property, 407 Pearl Street Northwest. This was the former Big Boy site. So the owner acquired the property back in 2022, and because they saw the tremendous potential it held for downtown, and based on their desire to see it contribute to the future growth and development, they're donating it generously to the DDA. And so what we're asking is to finalize that agreement of accepting it, as well as to authorize us to make expenditures required to operate and maintain it before it is redeveloped. We are asking for your approval of the resolution to accept the donation. I'll pause there to see if there are any questions.
Questions, comments?
Thought that the Big Boy went away.
You're not alone.
There are others throughout the community.
Right.
That was the first complaint I heard. Oh, the Big Boy's closed. All right, anything else? If not, there is a proposal that we accept the donation of 407 Pearl Street and authorize the executive director to coordinate ongoing maintenance and operations of the site. I would entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any other questions or further discussion? If not, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. All right. So, Mr. Kelly, you're still on board here.
I think last one for me. This is a request to approve the assignment of tax increment revenues for the 2 East Fulton development support agreement, excuse me. So quick backstory here. Back in 2011, the DDA approved an initial agreement with the owner of 2 East Fulton. That was to support the redevelopment of that building, which currently houses Tower Pinkster. There was a brownfield that was also a part of their capital stack. The brownfield was in a first position to move forward. So the collection of DDA tax increment revenue could not occur until that brownfield expired. That happened in 2023. Between 2011 and 2023, ownership changed, and so what they're now asking is that the agreement, the development support agreement that had already been approved, is now assigned to the new entity. We did review the tax increment, or I'm sorry, the reimbursement request back in 2017 and approved it. So all the work that they committed to in the initial agreement has occurred. Obviously, there's a excuse me, a tenant in the building. It's been a great addition to the downtown, and so we are just being asked to approve this assignment of revenue. And total amount within that agreement, just to remind you, was for around $189,000. So that reimbursement would now occur in the 2024 fiscal year.
Questions? All right, we're being asked to approve the resolution authorizing the assignment of tax increment revenue for 2 East Fulton. I would entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor? Any other discussion before I move on? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. All right, next, we are going to consider the community garden funding.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hello, my name is Kenzie Channing. I'm the manager of Neighbor Experience for Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. So I listen to neighbors about their experience living downtown, and the thing that constantly comes up is access to fresh produce, affordable access to fresh produce, and ways that we can be innovative together to create a solution for people across the economic spectrum to be able to have that access. And one idea that has come up is, why don't we do it ourselves in a community garden setting? So we've been talking to neighbors really since the implementation of GR Forward, but in the past 2.5 years that I've been here, it's a constant thing that comes up with neighbors in discussion. And then bringing it to the internal team, we have a cross-departmental group of staff that have been focusing on this project for about 6 months to bring it to you as an opportunity today. And I'll turn it over to Corey.
Thank you. Corey Mattine, project manager here for DGRI. I just want to say thank you for allowing me to build Las Canchas at parking lot area 9 on Seward Avenue. It's been a great success. We've been having men's and women's leagues being played there, as well as youth programming, as well as watch parties, and we've got more of that planned for this spring and summer. And I think it's been a great way to showcase the activation of this space, where it wasn't being used as a parking lot as much. And so I want to take advantage of more of that space, and the location we chose within the parking lot is the most northern section of the parking lot, closer towards Bridge Street. So for a reminder, there's 3 courts that have been built, 2 that are located more in the middle section of the parking lot, and then there's 1 that's by itself in the northern section. So I wanted to take advantage of that space and have more activation within this space and have more greenery. So here's the kind of concept that we have for building this community garden. We're going to test this as a pilot. And so what we're going to do is do raised flower beds. We're going to do rows, and we're going to have 50 plots designated for the public. We're going to try and do individual plots as well as group plots. So that could be families, or it could be friends of groups and neighbors working together. And so we want to take advantage of the existing infrastructure there. So there's an existing irrigation system there, as well as electrical outlets, so we can have a drip irrigation system there. And then also we want to have a storage container as well, so we can provide equipment to the public if they need help in terms of growing stuff or maintaining their crops or their plot that they have. And then also we want to test out reflective paint. So we know there's an urban heat island effect, and so we want to be conscious of that. And so we want to test out this paint to see if that can help reduce the temperature. And so we want to give as much as we can to help in this project to make sure people enjoy this as well as have success in this. And then I'm going to pass on to Kenzie, who's going to explain more as to why this is a benefit to the community.
Thanks, Corey. So community is really at the center of this project, and we've been listening to ideas and taking feedback from the community on what they'd like to see in this space. So like Corey mentioned, the idea of some people having individual plots while maybe a building works together to have their own plot to build community. And also, like you mentioned, the transformation of space so that an unused parking lot can be a green and verdant area for neighbors to participate in community together is something that really excites us and neighbors. So I mentioned the importance of food access and affordability. People are also really interested in that local food system, understanding where their food comes from and knowing who's growing it, the person next to them, themselves, that sort of thing. And then having a communal effort to beautify space. So neighbors have also given me feedback that we want to be a part of the work that DGRI is doing. We want to be a part of the solution, get our hands dirty in this case, so to speak. And this gives them an opportunity to really be hands-on in the process of making something for their community. As Corey also mentioned, heat islands, the urban infrastructure of concrete and asphalt, looking to turn that around and create a more environmental opportunity for neighbors. This is a concern that I've also heard across buildings, that we want to be a part of solutions that will be sustainable for the future. So neighbors, again, want to have a hand in that. And another important piece of this garden is that it will be accessible. So it is near a Dash bus stop. Seward has a bike lane along the street. It is near 9 residential buildings that have approximately 767 units. So we could see 1,000 people walking to this space or within walking distance of this space. And then the beds themselves, we are making ADA accessible, and then the distance between the plots as well will be ADA accessible so that no matter what stage of ability you have, you can participate in this garden and be a part of it. Another huge thing is including multi-generational opportunities to engage. So we want kids to be there. We want older community members to be there. We want everyone to have a hand in this experience. And then neighbor engagement. It's a way for neighbors to connect to a project, to be a part of something and be able to point to it and say, I did that, that's mine. I'm excited to add to the vitality of downtown. So we are excited about this project and asking, our recommendation to you is a cost of $87,000 for programming the space with local community members. We have an RFP out right now for that programming, and next month I'd be happy to give you an update on the chosen partner. And then the rest of the cost would be for building the plots, buying the plants, the soil, that sort of thing, and then the infrastructure that Corey mentioned.
Questions?
I just want to comment. I'm delighted to support it today. And then if you need any support building those raised beds, please reach out to me, as we're always looking for ways our students can do service projects.
Fabulous.
At WMCI, so please, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to invite all of the DDA members to join us in that effort.
Just a quick question. It looks like it runs up right against the futsal courts. Is there any additional fencing planned so the balls aren't constantly landing in flower beds and plots? And
So the existing fencing that we have at Les Canches is 12 feet, and then there's a spectator area. So that one individual court is actually, there's an L shape in terms of spectator area. So behind the goal, there's still space, and then you've got the 12-foot fence. And so really, we're not going to have additional fence at the moment for the garden. We kind of want to be an open concept and just allow anyone to show up. And normally the games that I've participated in or been watching at Les Canches stay within the courts. We've not had any stray softballs flying out in the street or in the existing parking lot. So I think we should be fine in terms of additional fencing. It's more an open concept.
thank you.
Any other questions? I have one. Do you anticipate this is a one-time request and that there is a way to sustain this?
Yeah.
Great question. Yes, so this is a pilot project. We want to see how it goes. We would love to see it in other areas around downtown, but I think that for this site, it would be self-sustaining. We won't need to replace boxes and soil every year. Regenerative and organic practices are what we are trying to maintain to make sure that we can keep the things that we're building this year intact for many years.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? If not, we have a recommendation to authorize the DDA funding in an amount not to exceed $87,000, including a 10% contingency for programming and supplies to support the Downtown Community Garden Project.
So moved.
Support.
I heard someone move and support this, so with that, any further discussion or questions? If not, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, that'll be exciting to see. All right, moving forward, we're to the Executive Director's Report.
We moved through that 140-page agenda packet pretty quick. So.
Cheer.
Thank you all for reading it and paying attention. Just a couple things to point out in addition to everything that's going on. First and foremost, reminder, World of Winter is not over. We have activities planned until March 10th and the closing weekend, a lot going on. So hopefully you've been able to come out and see it and you can come back for a few more events going on. We've had great turnout throughout, particularly the silent disco. Even got ice sculptures out last Friday with the 50 degrees and sun. But again, our team is all hands on deck pulling this off and having a lot of fun, but also putting a lot of work in. So hopefully you are all enjoying it. We are tracking visitor counts well above where our 5-year average. We are slightly below the 2023 January numbers, and that's primarily due to just the weather at the beginning of the month when everyone was sort of locked at home for a few weekends. But all in all, great turnout. We'll expect to see that number continue to tick up for February. Next up, question?
I was just looking at that chart, and like, clearly we have some work to do in May, June, and July.
Yeah. Yep.
It'll have to be a remembrance of Winter Festival.
We might need to shorten it, or I don't know. When it snowed on Halloween this year, so maybe we'll move it back. I don't know. But welcome all ideas. Also wanted to point out on the activation side, we have Activate This Place grants, which are out currently. We hosted in here a learning session so that folks could understand how the application process program works. Had about 30 participants there. We have another one scheduled for online later this month, and those are open until March. So we'll see those grants start to go out to have downtown alive for the springtime. Shinola opened back in January. We had a great ribbon cutting. The space looks amazing. If you haven't been in it, please go check it out. If you need to get last minute Valentine's Day gifts, they do have a lot of good things to pick up. So we're happy to have them in downtown and activating that storefront. Monroe Center benches are also now all out. We're going to be doing a little bit of shuffling around to make sure that they're spread out evenly throughout the corridor. So you might see them still in these crates, but they have now all been delivered and will be deployed and ready for use shortly. Construction at Lions Square continues to move along very well. These are some drone shots from a few weeks ago. Work has been well on schedule. Everything is going great. I don't know if you haven't been down there. The median was taken out a few weeks ago, and when the cars aren't parked there, you get a sense for how huge that space is, and it's just sort of exciting to see it all come together. I don't have any pictures of it here, but the Grand Rapids Public Museum construction site has a live camera feed also, so you can kind of track that as well. But both those projects continue to move along, and I think that was it. Maybe just two other quick points. One, our Grand River Network Board meets in here later today. They have a lot of work happening. Obviously, we talked about the trail a little bit earlier. We have an operations and maintenance RFQ that's out or just closed on Monday. So we've received a number of applications that will be reviewed. That'll be looking at the long-term maintenance and operations of the whole corridor, obviously extending outside of downtown. But pay attention to that. We also, the Oxford Trail public meeting started in January. January 23rd, they had a kickoff, so that planning initiative has also started. And then wanted to, last but not least, just wanted to point out at each of your stations, we have Black History Month material. So we put together a walking tour a few years ago that is still active. So download the GR Walks app if you want. And then we also have this sort of overview of important leaders in Black history throughout Grand Rapids, or throughout the history of Grand Rapids. So those are my last two things.
Any questions for Tim? Yes.
Yeah, Tim, I just have a couple of questions. Where are we with the work being done on the Van Andel alleyway? I thought that was going to move a little bit more quickly.
Yep, we are working through an MOU currently. Really, at this point, just waiting for property owner sign off to be done, and expect to have that ready for bid in the spring or summer.
Okay.
So design is largely done.
Okay.
We'll just need to get a bid.
Still with the intent to get it started this year?
Yes, this calendar year.
Okay.
To start construction.
Okay. And then for the other work, I know it's Monroe TIF largely, but the Leonard to Ann Trail,
Yeah.
that's still plugging along?
I believe so. I might look to Tim Berkman to, do you know timing on that one?
Yes, we do have the Eagle permit for that project, and it's hard to get out of here to run to a mic, I'll just say. We do have the Eagle permit obtained for that project. I think the plan is later this year. Still working through a couple pieces on that, but the big win was getting the permit in place for it.
Oh, good. Good. So my third and final question, it could be for you or Tim. So with the design for the 201 Market site along the river's edge, our plan is to track along with that development and have it complete by May of 2026?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
The trail part.
The trail part, yeah,
Yep.
the river's edge part.
Yep.
Okay.
The design for that stretch is tracking along with the amphitheater. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good.
And because we're using ARPA dollars primarily,
We have to.
need to make sure it's spent. Yep.
Yes. They have a deadline.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for our executive director? Seeing none, we will move along to public comment. Any comment from the public? Seeing none, we will adjourn. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
And your patience.
Yeah.
And your
Appreciate
willingness
it.
to read 141 pages.